What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the second album by singer Rae Jepsen. Basically this project is called Kiss and it came out in the late summer of 2012. So the thing about this particular product here is Rae Jepsen kind of came particularly on the scene with two big singles that were pretty big staples throughout the 2010s decade. Definitely something. Now nowadays it seems like in certain senses she's kind of almost seen as like a one-hit wonder in pop music, mainly because the lead single off this album, Call Me Maybe, but the actual aspect she does have a number of hits and she's a pretty excellent songwriter within some of these type pitches. Just the fact that she mostly got garnered as just like just one particular song that just was not able to be outstripped full blown, but was within the pitches. I've seen her drop a number of albums. She dropped an album I know in 2015 and maybe one, at least like a couple other ones throughout like the mid-late, throughout the 2010s and the 2020s as far as those pitches kind of happen. But I look after this is a quality album here just in the pitch. Going to recommend every song on this particular album on the deluxe edition. So it's 15 songs. Excellent type pitch to be able to say it. But yeah, this is a particular album that I would definitely say when it comes to pop music in terms like a sense, when folks were not, bewildered by Adele and folks like that, or Taylor Swift, some of those type folks, or Beyonce, some of those type folks that were pop artists in like the early 2010s. This was a good taste of some things that was kind of trendy to like the early 2010s as far as those pairs going to happen. So this particular album, when you think of like a de facto album for pop music between like probably like 2010 to about 2013, 2014, somewhere in there, I'd say this is probably one of the ones that has the most notability behind it, just in terms of the aspect of at least that early 2010s EDM type sound just to the pitch. This is one of the ones that embraced it the most. Just had the aspect of really riding that crest wave and just getting some good appeals. Very vicious type album for pop music. For a pop album, this is pretty severe, I just would have to say, in terms of like just the aspect when you think of someone like Jeffree Star or Lady Gaga, some of those type of folks, the good aspect that they kind of did with like relative synth pop and some of those type of appeals. This does that, but just with more EDM type music. So it's just a good fashion that it basically, like Rae Jepsen just has like blockade hit after hit just within that particular fashion. These, even if folks feel like the song Good Time and possibly Call Me Maybe are like the anchors of this particular project, it does have more than a few hits to back up the rest of this particular affair. So it's just kind of concept. Not really as sure as to why Rae Jepsen didn't get much of like a widespread, many more opportunities to really back up and become like another big name in like pop music. It kind of felt like she got shoehorned out of the spotlight for whatever reason. She rode the crest of her two large singles with which both Call Me Maybe and Good Time were like top 10 singles. Particularly Call Me Maybe hit number one, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying that it seemed like she was more associated just with EDM type music more so than the aspect of actually having some good tunes on here, which is this pretty balanced type project to be able to get. So this is a noteworthy type one, and she was kind of like also like an alternative to Katy Perry, who did not drop an album in 2012, so it's a good type pitch to have for some of this. I probably would have said that there would have been at least one more single that would have been as good as like the lead two singles. I probably would have said that this might have been an album that probably could have had her, compete with some of the big names out of 2010's pop music as far as those pairs can happen, but it just didn't happen. But I mean, she does have like some pretty good notoriety. It's not like she's broke or things like that. Within the obvious sense of just saying, it's just kind of more within the concept that you just look after it just in terms of her being like a standard kind of household name when you think of like folks from around that time, like when you think of Rihanna, when you think of Taylor Swift, when you think of Rihanna, when you think of certain senses Avril Lavigne, when you think of Lady Gaga, when you think of Katy Perry, some of those type folks, Adele, in certain senses, just folks like that. This is within the particulars. It just doesn't have as much full-blown notoriety, but still classic album. Recommend every song on here. Would have to say within those aspects, very notable. Just reeks of like early 2010s type fare. Just a good taste of how that particular concept. It's a good taste of how that particular concept kind of goes. Just ripped out of 2012, 2013. Some of those type pitches. A good type sound that just continues that particular fare just pretty well. Definitely would have to say if pop music, not really as full-bound sure what pop music is out to circa late 2024, early 2025. But I would definitely say this definitely could stand to have like some renditions of it nowadays, because this is pretty much like a wall-to-wall classic here. Just have to say. But yeah, 4 singles, so just being able to say here that the lead single was Call Me Maybe. Now, chances are, if you've heard like relative pop or rhythmic radio throughout the past 10, 15 years, you probably you've had some notoriety with this particular song. It's pretty much the song that pretty much seems like the largest anchor that Rae Jepsen particularly kind of has. I might have said Cardi B. I want to say, I don't know if I said Cardi B a couple times within the earlier amounts of this review, but it is Rae Jepsen just within the pitch. But Rae Jepsen within the pitch pitch. Basically, this song has over 1 billion plays on Spotify, so it was a big deal. It's like pretty much when you think of songs from the 2010s, this is one of the largest ones in there as far as those fairs going to have. And this like a signature kind of fizzy, super vanilla pop 2010 staple to kind of get here. Good radio jingle and this brisk kind of everyday comedy to kind of get within those pitches. So it's just some standard type fare, just typical kind of Tuesday fashions, Wednesday type fashion, just within the concept, especially from like a female perspective, just within the aspect of just like typical kind of this routine kind of day, blue collar makeshift type pitch, just within the aspect of this standard commute within that aspect. So I think that was kind of the concept. And in certain times something will happen where like an artist, kind of similar to like Robin Thicke, how Robin Thicke had a huge song with Blurred Lines and that hit #1 for a good while. And I think the reason why Robin Thicke was kind of like a one-hit wonder was just the fact that folks wanted more songs like Blurred Lines, which was kind of more makeshift, kind of blue collar type hits, and he kind of switched to more EDM dance floor type stuff, and folks wanted more of like a worship type fare within that. But the problem with that particular album was just the fact that it was just kind of within the pitch that he didn't know that Blurred Lines was going to be a hit, so it's just kind of within the appeal. But that's kind of the concept of what happens with Carly Rae Jepsen. I'd have to say it's just the fact that this is such a good kind of makeshift kind of jingle for just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday type fare, just beginning of the week. It's kind of a frou-frou kind of just not necessarily frou-frou or lackadaisical, but there's a word for it that I can't think of as far as those pitches can happen. Just not necessarily wishy-washy, but just kind of like fleeting. It's not necessarily fleeting. I can't really think. The word is just eluding me as far as those pitches can happen. It's just kind of just like it's not really just kind of baggage free. I can't really think of the word before. I might put it in the connotation, but I don't know if I would even think of it by that point. But just kind of say it's just a fleeting type song, just not really amongst the aspect kind of behind it, but it just kind of has that fleeting type aspect of just no real, just kind of frivolous. I think that's probably the word I'm looking for. Just kind of frivolity, just about just within the tone as far as those pitches kind of go. Just the aspect of just like a typical kind of Monday, Tuesday type romp as far as those pitches can have. And this was such a good song within that tone. But the rest of this album really is not anything like this particular one. There's at least a couple on here that have like a relative sense, but in terms of like an actual jingle that seems like this makeshift kind of push, there's not ones like that. Probably Guitar String Wedding Ring is a nice one for that, and Your Heart is a Muscle are some ones, but those are just a little bit different. But yeah, Good Time is the second single. And this is another good staple on here. This has over 600 million plays on Spotify, so this was a huge deal back in like the early 2010s. This is one that was kind of a fusion song with Owl City. I need to get to some of their type of music. They were also kind of pigeonholed as one-hit wonders, but this was a song that was just all over the place back in rhythmic radio back in those days. It's like a stock makeshift relief and early dance floor embrace to kind of get here. Just a 2010 staple, like I was saying. This reminds me definitely of Cobra Starship. So some of those type ones, like when you think of a hit song by Cobra Starship, like You Make Me Feel, some of those type ones from their 2009, 2011 albums, some of that type fare is just a good type concept. So just the concept of disc getting towards like EDM type fare. But the thing about this particular song is it's a real light lick type one, I would have to say. It's just kind of the concept. There are further vicious songs on this particular album, but this is definitely one where I would say that's probably one that would be like 5:45, 6:15 of just like the last moments of worship, just the concept of getting to like a dance floor and figuring out what you're going to do, the initial kind of combo as far as those fares going to happen. It's kind of a good conduit where I feel like Call Me Maybe is more Monday, Tuesday type music. This is more Wednesday, Thursday, where maybe it's a little bit of frolic in there, but it's just within the sense of still having a little bit of composition SFW wise. But this feels like a routine kind of staple that you would hear just amongst like coworker type fare, some of that type of good stuff. I'd have to say it's a good concept for that. Real hooky and melodic. I would definitely feel like Carly Rae Jepsen really nails some great vocals on this song. This Kiss is a nice one. Now, this is one that turns it up within a more vicious type sense. It's like a further kind of stock, fresh 2010s pop grooves to kind of get here, I'd have to say. Just good new wave action and prowl. I would definitely feel like within this particular fare, just dance highlight fizz kind of get within some of those type tones. This is one that just switches the tone. This is just more typical kind of EDM type fare that you would expect from like Rihanna, David Guetta, some of those type folks. Just other folks like that probably like certain things like Linkin Park, some of those type pitches, just within the aspect, just within how some of those tones kind of went along with it. But it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying these two particular singles, This Kiss and Tonight I'm Getting Over You, or This Kiss, Tonight I'm Getting Over You, or amidst like dance crazy. So some excellent type aspect to kind of get these particular fares. Just a good concept there. It's kind of the pitch as far as saying, this is probably a few hours after Good Time as far as those fares can happen, maybe even on like a different day with just as a miss like the Get Crunk type. just kind of amidst like the dance hop type aspects as far as those pairs would kind of go with it. So it's good type tones. Just a lot of these I'm going to list on here, not just the two singles, This Kiss and Tonight I'm Getting Over You, but also songs like Curiosity, Turn Me Up, Hurt So Good, Drive, some of these type ones, Tiny Little Bows. A lot of these are just going to be consistent kind of EDM hits. This is definitely like an EDM classic here to kind of get within those tones and like a pop aspect. So it kind of fuses those things and does it extremely well. But Tonight I'm Getting Over You is a nice one. It's like a stretching kind of EDM group to kind of have with like a more meaning about it. I'd have to say just a typical kind of 2012 draw. I'd say about this one, just some good makeshift on top of that. So it's just kind of within the tone. Just like this is almost like a slow dance type song within the pitch behind it. Just a little bit more one of the kind of crested ones that just has a little bit more romantic incline about it. Just compared, some of these have a little bit more frivolity about it, just wanting to get crunk in like a dance club. But some of these more type ones just have a little bit more kind of taste of R&B to them as far as those particular aspects kind of have along with it. So it's good type pitch with that. Good type snappy type drama as far as those pitch can have. So good aspects there. Good type snappy type smokiness kind of get within those aspects. So it's a good appeal, I'd have to say. But that's the concept about this album. So it was a pretty big deal. This was the concept. This album was a pretty big deal. It was just kind of the concept about it. Just go ahead and say I recommend every song on this album. So this album obviously gets a 10 out of 10. There are 3 extra songs in the deluxe edition, which I would recommend to get that one because this enhances the project even further. I'd have to say in those 3 songs in the deluxe, there actually are a lot more songs that were packaged. There's like a Target edition, a bunch of other editions. There's like a song on here that's called I Know You Have a Girlfriend. Almost. There's another one that's called Almost Said It. There's another one that's called Picture. And some of those type ones, Melt With You, some of those type pitches. So there's some ones on here, definitely some ones to track down. But I would say within the 15 song edition that's on the deluxe in the United States, I'd say it's pretty much I recommend all 15 songs. So that those 3 songs would be Drive, Wrong, Feels So Right, and Sweetie. So it's just within pitch. But so once again, this album gets a 10 out of 10. But a nice hit on here would be Beautiful with Justin Bieber. It's like a stock kind of folk pop, similar to like acoustic Justin Bieber days from like My World and some of those type ones, and Believe acoustic, even though that hadn't come out just yet. But it's just within some of those type fares, just a tied up kind of summer glaze, definite typical day hop to kind of get in some outing gauze kind of have within those aspects. So it's just more tied down type music, just with an aspect behind it. It's good concept for some of that boyfriend type fare, just within the pitch behind it. Just really works within the appeal behind it. Good type tones for some of that. Just kind of this little bit more kind of vanilla in like a typical pop type sense. It's a little bit more of one that just has like a particular fashion of disc. Not so much having as much time to go out and kind of gallivant as far as those pitches can happen. Just a little bit more of running errands together and just more typical kind of workaday type stuff within the pitch as far as those particular aspects going to happen. Just more kind of just traditional type senses within the tone. Not as much like romping and just social and like a Friday, Thursday type sense, but just a little bit more makeshift within the sense of just Bay and Bella type fare as far as those pitches can have a good type tone, but it works for it. Feels just like a Justin Bieber song that he was putting out in 2012, just like Boyfriend, some of those type ones, good type pitch for that. Your Heart Is a Muscle is a nice one on here. It's like a good rainy day and sulky kind of makeshift stretch to kind of get within some of those type tones. It's a crummy Monday or typical dreary to kind of have within this particular song. So this is one that just feels like a good one to kind of listen to on like a dreary kind of commerce day as far as those pitches kind of go. Just kind of one, it's like the antithesis, not so much the antithesis, but just like another side of the coin to like a song like Call Me Maybe. This is a little bit more of like a meaning type one within the pitch, but just kind of the concept of just like that drear about it. Just kind of does feel like a rainy day compared to like the more sunshininess of Call Me Maybe, just with an aspect of this kind of more tugging type one within the pitch. But it works for what it is. It's like a good kind of commerce type one to kind of get. So it is a makeshift type song. So Rae Jepsen is not full blown kind of I mean, there's some other moments on here if folks are kind of like, you know, so this album definitely has a good balance of some things, but it's just kind of within the pitch that it's like a good stretcher kind of get within some of those type tones. Guitar String Wedding Ring is a highlight as well as like a vintage kind of hot topic alternative evening. Guitar String Wedding Ring is a highlight as well as like a vintage kind of hot topic alternative evening dredge kind of get here. Just the excitement of Task Done, I'd have to say it's a pretty lit song kind of get within those pitches. So it just feels like something you would expect from someone like, you know, just typical emo band, some of those type fares like 3 Days Grace, someone like that, Blink-182, some of those type fashions. So just like that drear of it, that just like that dredge and drear of it being like 5:45 p.m. just the ride home, some of those type pitches, just figuring out, all right, the unwind from work. It's the concept of that shit's done. Just some good type pitches to be able to say to just get to like the commerce of just figuring out what's going to happen just within like the excitement of like just some good primers for what's going to happen later just within those aspects. But it does in like an alternative type sense. I would have to say, judging by like the album cover, I feel like there's a mild touch of like alternative on this particular product. It's not as full bound that Rae Jepsen feels like emo and pitches like that, more alternative. But I think within the aspect, this you can tell by like the eyeliner she's wearing, like the album cover, that it just feels a little bit more smoky within a sense. It just has like a relative range to that. Just the concept, you know, with things like is the pitch of Owl City kind of being an affiliate, and they're pretty big alternative type folk within a pitch and like a more synthy type sense. It's just within the tone. I like that aspect on here. It's not really shown as full bound on this project. Maybe some of the bonus songs did it, but I just look after it. I feel like Guitar String Wedding Ring is definitely one of those type ones. There need to be another song like this on here. I like some of these worship type embrace ones and like a hot top and like a hot topic kind of alternative sense. Good type tones. Sweetie is like a nice one. It's like in amidst like the last moments of worship wrap up to kind of get here, just a primer for a night on the scene. I would definitely feel like in a good loosen up kind of jive to kind of get within those pitches. So Sweetie feels more of like alternative rock within a sense, a little bit more of like a punk type song. I'd say pretty similar to like almost like Blink 182 and like Good Charlotte, some of those type folks. Just really, I like the alternative rock type tinge about this particular one. So some good type tones, kind of get some of that. Really, most of this album's pretty EDM, but some good extra type pitches, kind of get some of these on here. So it's a good aspect for that. Drive is a nice one as well. It's like a good vintage kind of 80s new wave cruise around and solid karaoke night pick to kind of get within some of those type fares. Definitely a gelled kind of after work relief to kind of have within that particular aspect. So it's a good type pitch for that. This really feels like something. It's a sleeker type one just within the concept, but like another makeshift type one just a little bit. This is a cruise around type one, pretty similar to like Your Heart is a Muscle, but just not as like moody within the pitch. Just a little bit more of like a slick type one. This is more Friday, Thursday night type music where maybe you're going to do something social wise, I'd have to say. Good type tone for that. Also pretty good karaoke type for like I was saying. Now a lot of these I'm going to list on here, like some of these ones, Curiosity, Turn Me Up, Hurt So Good, some of these type ones, Tiny Little Bows. A lot of these are pretty similar within the fashion. These are just stock hit after hit within the EDM type fashion. So I'm just going to go in on some of these. I don't, like I'd have to keep listening to the album to remember the distinction between all these, but just understand the concept that a lot of these are just EDM type heat to kind of get within the night. That's just like songs like This Kiss, Good Time, and Tonight I'm Getting Over You, I'd have to say. So it's within the pitch. But Curiosity is like a dance hop kind of enjoyment, I'd have to say. Just a basic vanilla kind of EDM that goes with the singles pretty well. And this is like greatly, goes with the singles greatly, I'd have to say. And it's like a head to the dance floor snap to kind of get within those tones behind it. So just some nice ones here. Just the heat on these particular songs just really has the aspect behind it. This vicious type one. You can pretty much purchase this album, just have it in the tape deck or just things like that for like a dance venue. And this whole album basically slaps within those pitches, being able to get stock hit after hit. Especially the deluxe edition does that. Turn Me Up is another nice one for that. It's like a stock kind of EDM step out here to kind of get within these. Just some great melodies and fizzy kind of plush ambience kind of have within that tone, just to get loose and tipsy kind of excitement to kind of have. So it's just particular hits here just be able to have. It's real nice. Night of Ferociousness just within the tone. This is pretty, like, I feel like this is like a signature album in terms of EDM type music. When I probably would recommend EDM type music to reflect on like 2011, 2012, 2013, some of those type of years, I would think in terms of pop music, especially for like a songstress that just nailed it extremely well, it's probably like a banner one. It's pretty much like a staple. This is easily like a staple album of like the first half of the 2010s that I'd say. Just really nails the aspect behind it. Some good type tones for that. Turn Me Up is another or Hurt So Good is another one just like that. It's like a this Hurt So Good is like a quality kind of dance night times kind of get within those aspects. Just blistering amount of social evening snap about this album. Like I was saying, good type tones, especially with this particular song. And this song is as good as the singles that I say. A lot of these just particularly are. It's real nice ones to just cut loose and just have some good times to just kick back and just the aspect of just real shake your ass on the dance floor. Just enjoy the ambience, some social spice, just some pitches like that. Just good night of just frenetics. Just would have to say. This has the tone. This album has plenty of jive. I'd say Tiny Little Bows is another one just like some of these. It's like a litty kind of night hop to kind of get here. Good spices about this particular song. The song has some definite litty night hop spices kind of get within these pitches, just to get crunk kind of town crawls to kind of have within some of these tones. Just vine to vine kind of taste of Thursday, Friday fun to kind of have within those aspects. So just basically, if you're going to more than one dance venue, if you get tired of one, go to the next one. Just cruise around just within the pitch, just within the aspect that, you know, just depending upon if you're just walking to some of these or just having like a sober driver, some of those type pitches that can just get from multiple places. Just some good type tones to be able to have some of these aspects of just consistent kind of just pub crawl type music and dance crawl type music kind of get within those. Dance crawl type music kind of get within some of those. Those good type fashions. More Than a Memory is a quality one as well. It's like a more SFW and kind of vanilla EDM hopping to kind of get within some of those pitches. Just reminds me definitely of Good Time. I just what I'd say. And it's like a light lick kind of frolic hit to kind of get within those tones behind it. So this is one pretty much like Good Time just in the pitch. A little bit more coworker friendly within those aspects. Not so much amiss like the full bound viciousness and not so much amiss like the full bound viciousness of like a standard Friday night where it just gets a little bit crazier within the fashion, but these are just some ones. So it does have some SFW moments. There are probably at least 4, 5, or 6 SFW songs on here. I definitely would say Call Me Maybe, Good Time, More Than a Memory, Your Heart Is a Muscle, some of these type ones, Beautiful, and Guitar String Wedding Ring are just some ones within those aspects. It does have a number of ones on here for like more blue collar type fare, just in the aspects. It's not to contemplate either way within the pitch, but just within the aspect if folks just think that this is like a Slackers album or just within the pitch or something like that. It really is definitely a jolt of an album to kind of get to. It's just within those tones. It's a signature pop album, I would definitely have to say. It just has the appeals and just covers many bases that I'd say within those tones, but within it. Then Wrong Feels So Right is a quality one as well within some of these more type ones. It's like a crest of night kind of in like a fierce, it's like a crest of night kind of in like a fierce dance kind of town hop to kind of get within some of those type pitches. Just good social taste that I'd say with like food also I'd feel like here, and this is a good song to bask to as far as those pitch can have. So it's just a good concept. If there are like some restaurant-esque kind of dance, if there are like some restaurant-esque kind of dance floors as far as those pitch can have, where you can get like wings and pitches like that, get some goodies, obviously get like beers, some of those type pitches in addition to some of the stuff that just would be amidst like the dance floor. It's a good type fashion kind of have for some of these extra type ones. Just appreciate like the social ambience. Just even if it's just like a pool hall, even if it is just like a billiards hall or something like that, just within the pitches of having some extra dance room to have sometimes in addition to like in addition to getting some grub and some extra fare like that, I'd say. So it's good type fares for that. So that's the concept about this particular album. So I recommended every song on here just in the pitch. Once again, 10 out of 10. Just would have to say. I think I talked about every song with just within those fares behind just the pitch as far as the viciousness kind of went here. So the social score I'm probably going to give like a 10 out of 10 as well. I feel like the concept behind just the aspect of the delivery of how many hit songs are on here. It has some stuff for blue collar type fare, just kind of a makeshift type embrace this within the pitch behind it. But this album is just not square like, and that's just kind of the pitch behind it. It's just as far as saying it just kind of says, hey, things are taken care of. I'm not kind of haphazard with how I'm doing things. Just kind of responsible aspect to having some moments for like coworker type fare, just in the concept of getting standard task responsibilities done, being laced up, but then also having the concept of saying, hey, I'm going to enjoy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then go back to work the next Monday and be just fine with it. As far as this pitch can happen, it's just a good type tone for that. It really nails that delivery. It's just very straight laced. The execution is very straight laced within the pitch behind it. Just real nice snap on here. Just has the good composition as far as those particular pitches kind of go along with this. So it's just a staple out of the early 2010s, pretty much the 2010s decade as a whole. It's a real nice pop album that just nails it and just blistering hit after hit. I'd say it's a fun type project. It's memorable. The melodies are great on here. It has some good radio snap. Just overall jingles and appeal. This has these aspects pretty well. So it's a good pitch. So in terms of the future, like I'm not really as full-bound sure what Rae Jepsen's been up to in recent times. I know she's dropped like a number of albums. I know she dropped an album in 2015 and maybe 2018, maybe even 2021 as far as those pairs can happen. It was just within the tone. I feel like for the most part, it kind of feels like her hits are more anchored to like the early 2010s, but just the 1-2 punch that she got with this album was just hard to rival. Not to say in terms like I actually believe that, but just in terms like the social notoriety, it just kind of feels like that's the case behind it. Just the apex of Call Me Maybe and Good Time are just hard to top as far as those, just the great 1-2 punch of just nailing those just as everyday staples, but still does it. I mean, this album clearly outbests those particular songs, just not in terms of casual type fare, but just within the tone. So I just would say so. But yeah, it's a classic album here, just signature to the 2010s pitch like that. Just real nice hot ticket pop album.